Ground Zero in New York. And I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell.
So as we all know, yesterday was the 22nd anniversary of the worst terrorist attacks on American soil in history, with the country mourning the 2,977 innocent victims who died at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, or Pennsylvania, let alone the hundreds of firefighters, paramedics, police officers, and civilians who've died in the years that have followed. And for some reason, Joe Biden decided to mark this anniversary in Alaska, which is about as far from Ground Zero in New York City as you can get while still being on American soil. Of course, his speech was as bizarre as you'd expect. He began by talking about baseball, because why wouldn't you?
Governor Dunleavy, it's good to see you. Governor and I have something in common. We're both from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I wish I had him playing in my high school ball club when I was playing. But I could have been an All-American having you in front of me.
And then he did what Joe Biden does best. He lied and made 9/11 about himself.
Ground Zero in New York. And I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because from where you could stand.
No, he wasn't in New York City on September 12th. He didn't go until September 20th as part of a bipartisan Senate delegation. In his own memoir, which admittedly he probably didn't even write, he claimed that he headed to the Capitol on September 12th. And people are understandably pissed about this because even when it comes to something as solemn as 9/11, Biden just can't stop lying. Every tragedy, he makes it about himself. If someone in the military dies, he'll make it about his son, who apparently died in 1,000 different ways in 1,000 different places. If someone loses a spouse, he'll push the lie that a drunk driver killed his first wife. And if we're talking about civil rights, he'll make up stories where he was always on the front lines. And yes, people should be angry that he didn't commemorate 9/11 more appropriately. While it's not true that every president since 9/11 has visited a 9/11 site, for example, George W. Bush and Barack Obama have both commemorated 9/11 from the White House lawn, there is a massive difference between an event remembering 9/11 outside the home of the executive branch and holding a thrown-together service during a layover flight between apparently more important plans. But that's not what really pissed me off. Here's what really pissed me off. On the same day, Biden bumbled his way through mourning for those lost to Islamic terrorism on September 11th, 2001. His administration was doing this.
5 American citizens detained in Iran are one step closer to returning home. The Biden White House has agreed to swap prisoners, 5 Iranians for 5 Americans, and unfreeze $6 billion in Iranian money, a deal Republicans are slamming.
So not only did Joe Biden voluntarily hand Afghanistan back to the same people who protected those responsible for 9/11, he's bending over a barrel for the world's largest funder of terrorism, giving them $6 billion in ransom payments, which will go straight into the hands of the same kinds of people who flew planes into the World Trade Center 22 years ago. Joe Biden wants you talking about Alaska. Joe Biden's speech in Alaska is the distraction from his real evil. Joe Biden's disrespect for the victims of 9/11 isn't just based on the fact he couldn't be bothered to fly to New York, but because he's saying that we can never forget, wiping away fake tears with one hand and then giving away billions of dollars with the other on 9/11. Billions of dollars earmarked for one thing, terrorism. He can say never forget. Seems like Joe Biden has already forgotten.